Crashout gang. So, what we see here happening in the good old country of Iran is a crash out of phenomenal proportion between Iran, like just average, ordinary people of Iran that is finding it more and more difficult to put food on the table, and the radical Islamic regime that runs the government. And you know it's radical and Islamic because just look up pictures of women in Iran in like the, I don't know, 1960s or 70s or 80s. And look at pictures of Iranian women now. Like, that's really all you need to know to figure out, okay, this is clearly an Islamic regime. Obviously, they enforce things like Sharia law. Like, it is a law for a reason, and they enforce these laws and rules. But I don't really want to get into the theology of it. What's happening is people are just failing to put food on their fucking tables. They're realizing their jobs are the price of everything is going up and up and up, and their money is being funneled to support legitimate terrorist organizations. And people don't understand that this is how the grift goes nowadays. They take money from you, the person who works for a fucking living, and gives it to interest groups, gives it to their peers. It's just classic corruption. It is a system funded by the very people that work in the country, and the sooner people figure this out, the sooner we can attack the problems that are even happening here in America, or like in Europe, or how like the crash has to happen in Mexico or Indonesia, and like all these crash outs just have one fundamental issue, and that's average, ordinary people, like military-aged young men, just being squeezed of their money, being squeezed of their self-expression, being squeezed of even their own future by radicals and by systems and bureaucracy. And if you're unable to vote to get these things out, yet you're going to have people that just take to the street. And apparently, I think Trump said something about this. It's like if Iran is attacking its own people, we will stand with their people, even though Iran and the United States have never really been on the best terms because of the Islamic regime. He's like, no, I will stand for the people that, are being fundamentally oppressed in this instance. So let's give this a watch.
But first, breaking to...
I keep forgetting to do the same. Let's do the same.
Tonight, President Trump is warning Iran the United States will intervene if the Islamic Republic begins killing protesters.
Yep.
Iranians have been demonstrating against poor economic conditions for several days. At least 7 people have died. Iran says the U.S. and Israel are inciting the protests. This comes as there appears to be possible movement with Venezuela. Correspondent Lucas Tomlinson is in West Palm Beach, Florida tonight. Good evening, Lucas.
And again, there's always this interconnected web of interconnected what the fuck ever. But it's not like they're trying to topple the culture, right? I mean, personally, I don't care for Islam as a culture. I don't agree with a lot of the things there, but at the end of the day, I mean, you grow up with your culture, and then there's the religion, then there's all. Think of every individual thing you would do, like go to church Sunday or go out to eat or with friends on the weekend, like every single little thing you do, and be like, okay, well, you might not agree, or well, let me rephrase it a different way. You may understand that there are good and bad with where the system you operate in, the culture in, but it's like you still like it. And I've said this before. I think like there are, for instance, gay people that still view marriage as something sacred, and that's a cultural thing. But you have people that of the Christian faith that are trying to gatekeep that culture away from people, and that builds resentment. And I think this is what's happening in Iran. It's like enough resentment has been built by the brutal regime, and they don't want the culture to go away. They don't want, the way their fathers and grandfathers to go away. They just want to be able to put food on the fucking table. And I think with this, you don't need this interconnective web of the United States is involved and Israel's involved, and like you really just don't need any of that if people are just struggling to put food on the table. Now, does this benefit us? Yes. Like, I think a lot of the relations in that area has just been soured over the past 20 years, and because of that, we need to put money, maybe not even directly towards dealing with Iran, but to make sure they don't spurg the fuck out. If they try to make nuclear bombs, nuclear stuff, we bomb them. And that costs money, it costs manpower, it costs effort that if it wasn't a brutal regime, we wouldn't have to deal with.
Good evening, Rich. The nationwide protests in Iran have been spreading throughout the week to dozens of cities. Now President Trump issuing a fresh warning to Iran, saying U.S. military has conducted strikes in the country before and will do so again if necessary. As protests in Iran stretch into their 6th day, President Trump firing off a new warning to the regime. If Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States of America will come to their rescue. We are locked and loaded and ready to go.
And yeah, he has to say this. Like, I think, protests in America are done wrong because people protest here because the election didn't go their way. People protesting in Iran are protesting because they don't get to elect. Like, they don't get to choose. They don't have a choice. It is difficult for us Westerners to comprehend this, especially living nowadays. Like, we like to believe that we understand. We like to believe we know this, but we never will, and it's never going to happen, despite, what liberal white women want to think, that we live in a patriarchy. It's like, are you getting beat for not wearing a head rag? No? Well, then you'll never understand this. And you should be happy that you'll never understand this. Right? And, okay, these people, they just want someone on their fucking side. Like, they're actively going against an armed, brutal regime because they want to put food on their fucking table.
While some Democrats say they support more pressure on Iran, not all are on board with another round of strikes.
To say we're locked and loaded is just another empty threat, like Trump's threats to take over Greenland or Panama or Canada.
I think in this instance it's credible. Like, we have interest in the Middle East, and we have demonstrated that we will defend them. Like, it is not an empty threat in this instance. You know, and nowadays we have the technology to do it. You know, we have drones. Like, we don't even really need to put boots on the ground, you know. Not a single foot needs to step on Iranian soil for us to, you know, bring the American empire to them. So, no, I don't think it's empty. It's very credible. Now, will he do it? Probably not. But it's a credible thing that can be done.
In the Western Hemisphere, a possible breakthrough with Venezuela. A sign the U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean is working, causing Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro to make concessions. Maduro now says he's open to resuming talks with the White House.
If they want to seriously discuss an agreement to combat drug trafficking, we're ready. If they want oil, Venezuela is ready for U.S. investment.
Yeah, and again, this is happening because tariffs, because sanctions, because we're softly imposing pressure on these countries, and the same thing's happening with Iran. Like, apparently their currency's so cheap, it's better you just wipe your ass with it as opposed to actually using it. It's like for $1, it's like what, several 100,000 of their currency. Like, it's in the trash. All while the people who work for a living, their money's being siphoned to fund legitimate terrorists, Islamic terrorists.
Chevron. Whenever they want it, wherever they want it, and however they want it.
The White House says the president has not made a decision on how to proceed.
This president has all options at his disposal. It's natural that Maduro would want to talk, but it's up to the president on what he wants to do.
The president has also been huddling with his economic team on his priorities for the coming year, including tariffs, where the White House announced plans to delay levies on furniture, kitchen cabinets, and vanities for a year, and reduce tariffs on 13 Italian pasta exporters. Trump previously walked back his tariffs on coffee and bananas as a Supreme Court decision on Trump's tariffs agenda looms.
Trump is likely to lose this Supreme Court case, which will probably come down in the next 6 weeks.
I mean, I don't really care for all that. I just wanted to talk about Iran and their situation.
The president also took to Truth Social today to say he's in perfect health and aced his cognitive test, which he thinks should be required to anyone who holds the office of president or vice president. The post comes one day after the president spoke to the Wall Street Journal about his health.
Nah, whatever. But, again, let's watch the comments. Iran is running out of water due to drought and mismanagement. Their money is almost worthless. Something really drastic has to change there. It's already happening. Like, change doesn't happen overnight. You know, it's a long, drawn-out process, and unfortunately, it's a violent one. It shouldn't really be that way, but you know, I guess us Western, we like to believe that people are above this nowadays until you push people into these situations. He's always failed to mention the severe water crisis in Iran. That's more dire. I mean, I think it's all of these things, right? Like, this is just another point on the graph going down for Iran. They can't afford to feed their families or themselves. Maybe even the job prospects are even worse because of the regime. You know, young men are being squeezed and smothered out. And again, you look at the protest, like, you look at these, it's young men, a couple of old guys. Like, you just need to look at the people walking. Like, this isn't, you know, I don't have a economist, you know, I don't have, you know, someone with a degree behind me. I'm just simply looking at the people, you know, and these things are happening. And again, running out of water, why? Like, why is the infrastructure for the water so fucking bad? Well, because they don't give a fuck about it. They're like, no, we want to take your money and give it to Islamic terrorists. Lamont, who said empty threat, we have Panama back. They, the locals, even recently tore down a China statue there. I mean, again, you know, people fail to understand the influence America has. What a way to start 2026. My God, you're correct. We're going in. We got fraud in Minnesota right here. We got the Iranians fucking flipping out, bro. Are they out of water too? Maduro bears a striking resemblance to Saddam Hussein. Just noticed. Got him. Peaceful protesters is how he puts it. Get the news right. Yeah, no, they're not peaceful. They're pretty fucking pissed off. Iran made another threat scary. Guess you remember Libya. Hope they do get their freedom. I mean, again, and it's difficult to explain this, but they like the culture. It's what they grew up with. They just don't want to be squeezed for their money. They want to be able to put food on the table and you know, maybe not have women get beat to death for not wearing a head rag. I mean, you know, I think that would also be a good thing too. The U.S. has bombarded the U.S. has bombers that Iran can't hit and payloads Iran can't intercept. Iran can't act without getting hit. Yeah, I mean, it gets to the point where a lot of these people that's just shitting on Trump is like, it's not really even a credible, like, there's a lot of things to criticize him about. You don't need to make up things like empty threats. No, that's a pretty credible threat. Goodbye, Iran, what a loser. Calling that an empty threat after the B-52 raid. Got him. Anyone think Maduro looks like Saddam Hussein? Got him. A cognitive test should be required for anyone elected or appointed to office. You know what? And I'm going to be unreasonable. I think if you are in office, you should hold zero stocks in anything. Zero investment on anything. Because it's a conflict of interest, right? And there just should not be even a shadow of that. Because the reason why people think they're corrupt is because there's interests. You know, because corporations can effectively, well, they don't give it specifically to the Trump, but they give it to the quote-unquote Trump administration, which is just effectively a business propped up out of nowhere, and he deposits the money that way. It's like, okay, I guess you legalize corruption, but you haven't gotten rid of conflict of interest. This is why aliens won't come to Earth. Man, you're fucking right, man. You know, maybe I want aliens. Like, fuck, man. But anyway, that's all I gotta say about this. Peace.